So humor. Now, there's a lot of research, and I admit I have not read it all, about humor in the classroom. And one thing that to keep in mind about teaching online is there may be still some students, we like to think that all students, they're young, they can use all the technology, they're very comfortable. That's not always true. Some students are still very uncomfortable with technology. Some students don't have access to what we have here at the university. And I've found we're spoiled here. You know, we have everything we need, more than what we need. But then when you go to people's homes, you see that they really don't have access to everything that we have. So they may not be as comfortable as you think. So because of that discomfort and the newness of not being in a classroom when teaching is happening and having to use the computer for everything, there may be some anxiety. So humor is one way to diffuse that. Now, I tell a lot of bad jokes, but for some reason people still laugh, even though they're bad jokes. But it does help to inject some forms of humor into your classroom. So, you know, keeping things lighthearted, you know, when you see an opportunity to make a kind of a little side joke or whatever, take it. But be careful. If you're using text for these side jokes, you can run into some problems because, you know, jokes need to be contextualized. So be very careful with that. It might be easier to do those with a video. So that way you don't have to worry about it being misconstrued or taken the wrong way. I think another way to head that off is to use a lot of video, especially at the beginning, to introduce yourself to the class so that they can get a feel for who you are as a person. When I first meet my students, they know that I'm kind of playful and not real formal. I can get mean sometimes, and I have really high standards, so I expect a lot from my students. But I'm also pretty lighthearted, pretty easygoing, and very easy to talk to. And they get that feeling as soon as they meet me. But so how do you create that online because we're not in person? The best way to do that is be video, because they get to see your face, they get to see your smile, they get to see your body language, you know, all those different things that let them know the kind of person you are. And that you want this to be a fun experience. Learning doesn't have to be drudgery. It can be, you know, fun and interesting, and it should be. And helping students remember that they don't have to be afraid to use the technology, and that there's lots of assistance here on campus to help them do a fantastic job in their online course and keep it light and humorous and fun. And also another thing too with humor, I teach a statistics course. There are a lot of jokes in statistics, you know, like funny little clips and all kinds of little crazy things. Like my mom used to say, "In God we trust, all others bring data," you know? And so I'm funny that everybody is listening to the video because you're not stacks geek or anything, but to me it was funny. And your students will delight in the fact that you tried to tell them a funny that was based on your field. So even if they don't laugh out loud, in the inside they're probably smiling just a little bit, and it would diffuse anxiety. Humor always diffuses anxiety. So that's another thing that will help. And it helps you too, because if you're anxious and you're feeling, you know, amused, those two emotions cannot exist in the same space. Anxiety and amusement cannot exist together. So it'll help you out too. So humor is good for everybody.